Claire Whitmore watched her husband sign the divorce papers with a smug smile on his face. Across the polished oak table inside the Los Angeles family courthouse, Vanessa Cole sat beside him in a tight ivory dress, adjusting the diamond bracelet on her wrist like she was preparing for an engagement party instead of a divorce hearing. They looked happy, comfortable, victorious, like they had already buried her. Vanessa leaned close to Ethan and whispered something that made him laugh under his breath. Claire stared at them quietly. Then she folded her hands in her lap and smiled. Not because she was hurt. Not anymore. Because in less than 10 minutes, their entire world was going to collapse. And neither of them had the slightest idea. If Ethan had looked carefully, really looked, he would have noticed something strange. Claire wasn't crying. Wasn't begging. Wasn't shaking. The woman he had called weak for the past 6 months looked terrifyingly calm. That should have scared him. It didn't. Not yet. The courtroom doors suddenly opened. Every conversation stopped. 20 men in black suits entered first. Professional security. Tall. Silent. Disciplined. Their polished shoes echoed against the marble floor in perfect rhythm. The courtroom atmosphere shifted instantly. People turned in their seats. The judge frowned. Even the bailiff straightened. Then another man walked in behind them. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dark charcoal suit tailored to perfection. Cold gray eyes. Nathan Whitmore. Claire's older brother. CEO of Whitmore Global Holdings. One of the most powerful tech conglomerates in America. Behind him came Theodore Bennett, the Whitmore family's attorney for over 3 decades, carrying 2 leather briefcases thick with documents. The color drained from Ethan's face. Vanessa's smile disappeared. Claire slowly leaned back in her chair. Finally. Now they understood something was wrong. Nathan stopped beside Claire. "Sorry we're late," he said calmly. Claire smiled softly. "Traffic." "Los Angeles," he replied dryly. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order. Who exactly are these people?" Nathan adjusted his cufflinks. "My name is Nathan Whitmore, Your Honor. I'm the brother of Mrs. Claire Whitmore." Ethan blinked. "Whitmore?" His face twisted in confusion. Claire had never used that last name. Never. She had introduced herself as Claire Bennett when they met. A normal woman. A quiet woman. A woman who worked freelance from home and spent most of her time raising their daughter. Nothing about billionaire families. Nothing about private security. Nothing about empire-level wealth. The attorney stepped forward. Theodore Bennett, representing Mrs. Claire Whitmore. He placed several folders before the judge. "And I believe opposing counsel has been operating under several catastrophic misunderstandings." The room went silent. Claire finally looked directly at Ethan. For 6 months he had watched her pack lunches, fold laundry, wait for him at night, and quietly clean up the emotional wreckage he kept creating. Now she looked at him like a stranger. Like a problem being evaluated. Not a husband. Not a man she once loved. Just damage. Ethan forced out a laugh. "What is this?" His voice cracked halfway through. Vanessa grabbed his arm. "Baby, what's happening?" Claire tilted her head slightly. "You wanted the truth, Ethan." She smiled faintly. "So here it is." 3 years earlier, Claire Whitmore had disappeared on purpose. Not physically. Socially. Emotionally. Financially. After her father died, she inherited Whitmore Global Holdings, a multinational tech and infrastructure empire worth over $9 billion. At 28 years old, she became one of the richest women in the country. And almost nobody knew. Because money had ruined everyone around her father. Fake friends. Manipulative partners. Greedy relatives. Every conversation became transactional. Every relationship came with hidden invoices attached. Claire hated it. So after the funeral, she walked away from public life. Nathan took over day-to-day operations as CEO while Claire remained majority owner behind the scenes. She moved into a modest apartment in Chicago under her mother's maiden name. No luxury cars. No designer labels. No assistants. No security detail. For the first time in her life, people spoke to her without calculating her net worth. That's where she met Ethan Parker. Rainy morning. Small coffee shop. He was sketching architectural designs on napkins beside the window. His coffee sat untouched and cold while he worked. Claire remembered the way his forehead tightened when he focused. The way his eyes lit up when he talked about designing buildings that made people feel alive. At the time, Ethan was an underpaid junior architect trying desperately to prove himself. Claire fell in love with his ambition. Or maybe with who she thought he was. They dated for a year before getting married in a tiny courthouse ceremony with only a few friends present. No media. No headlines. No Whitmore name. Just love. At least that's what Claire believed. When their daughter Lily was born 2 years later, Claire thought she had finally built the normal life she always wanted. Mornings making pancakes. Evenings reading bedtime stories. Family movie nights on the couch. Lily's tiny arms wrapped around both of them. Simple. Warm. Real. But behind the scenes, Claire was quietly shaping Ethan's success. The luxury condo they lived in? Owned by a Whitmore subsidiary. The architecture firm suddenly receiving high-profile contracts? Funded through shell companies controlled by Claire. The investors who suddenly became interested in Ethan's career? Connected to Whitmore Global. Claire never told him. Because she wanted him to feel proud of himself. Wanted him to believe his success was earned. Wanted him to feel like a man. And for a while he did. Until Vanessa arrived. Claire knew something was wrong the moment she met her at Ethan's company holiday party. Vanessa was beautiful in an exhausting kind of way. Perfect hair. Perfect makeup. Designer knockoffs pretending to be luxury brands. But it wasn't her appearance that bothered Claire. It was the way she looked at Ethan. Possessive. Hungry. Competitive. Like Claire herself was just temporary furniture standing in the way. Vanessa laughed too loudly at Ethan's jokes. Touched his arm constantly. Called him brilliant every 5 minutes. And Ethan liked it. Maybe more than he realized at first. Late nights at the office became normal. Then came the canceled dinners. Missed family weekends. Phone calls taken outside. Perfume on his shirts that didn't belong to Claire. Lily started asking why Daddy stopped reading bedtime stories. Claire defended him at first. He's busy, sweetheart. He's working hard. He loves you. Each lie tasted worse than the last. Then one night Ethan came home after midnight and passed out on the couch. His phone buzzed beside him. Claire stared at it for a long time. Then she picked it up. His password was Lily's birthday. That hurt more than she expected. Because it meant he still used their daughter, while betraying their family. The messages destroyed whatever remained of her marriage. Hundreds of texts. Photos. Hotel reservations. Plans. Vanessa calling Claire pathetic. Ethan calling his wife boring. Vanessa writing, "Once you dump the housewife, we can finally live the life you deserve." Claire sat in darkness while the glow from Ethan's phone illuminated her face. Her chest felt hollow. Cold. But she didn't cry. Not then. Instead, something else woke up. The Whitmore side of her. The side trained by billion-dollar negotiations and corporate warfare. She screenshotted everything. Transferred copies to secure servers. Called Theodore Bennett before sunrise. Then waited. The next morning she confronted Ethan over breakfast. Lily was still asleep upstairs. Claire placed the phone on the table. "End it." That was all she said. Ethan stared at the screen. Then at her. Then his expression hardened. "You went through my phone?" "No apology. No shame. Only anger." Claire realized in that exact moment that the man she married was already gone. "End the affair," she repeated calmly. "Come home to your family. This is the only warning I'll give you." Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. "What are you gonna do, Claire?" He leaned back in his chair. "You don't have money. You don't even have a career. Everything you have came from me." Then Vanessa called. And Ethan answered right there in front of his wife. "Relax, baby," he said into the phone while staring directly at Claire. "I'm filing for divorce today." That sentence ended everything. Over breakfast. While their daughter slept upstairs. The next 3 months became a nightmare. Ethan moved Vanessa into the condo before the divorce finalized. Claire took Lily and left quietly. Vanessa smiled every time she saw her during custody exchanges. Like she had won something valuable. Ethan's attorney, Richard Coleman, treated Claire like trash from the very beginning. She has no financial stability. She contributed nothing. She's emotionally dependent. She cannot provide an appropriate environment for the child. Claire listened silently during every meeting, every insult, every assumption, and she remembered all of it, especially when they filed for primary custody of Lily. That nearly broke her. Not the cheating, not the humiliation. That. Because Lily was everything. The only thing Claire truly couldn't lose. Which brought them back to the courtroom. Back to Ethan staring at Nathan in horror. Theodore Bennett opened one briefcase. Your Honor, Mrs. Claire Whitmore is not unemployed. Another folder landed on the bench. She is majority owner of Whitmore Global Holdings. Another folder. Current estimated personal net worth, $9.4 billion. Silence exploded across the courtroom. Ethan looked physically sick. Vanessa whispered, "No." The attorney continued calmly. The condo Mr. Parker claims ownership of belongs entirely to Mrs. Whitmore. His firm's largest contracts originated through Whitmore subsidiaries. 83% of his professional success can be directly traced back to financial opportunities secretly created by my client. Ethan slowly sat down. Like his knees stopped working. Claire watched him carefully. He finally understood. Everything he thought he built alone was built by her. Richard Coleman looked horrified. You withheld financial disclosure. No. Theodore interrupted smoothly. She simply wasn't asked the correct questions. Nathan stepped forward. Your client assumed my sister was worthless because she dressed modestly and stayed home with her child. His voice turned colder. That assumption just became extremely expensive. Vanessa suddenly stood. I didn't know. The judge slammed the gavel. Sit down. Vanessa sat immediately. Tears started ruining her makeup. Claire almost pitied her. Almost. Theodore continued. We are filing countersuits for financial fraud, misuse of marital assets, emotional damages, and attempted custodial manipulation. He began listing expenses. Luxury jewelry, international vacations, a penthouse lease Ethan secretly paid for, designer handbags, cash transfers, nearly $500,000 spent using accounts funded entirely by Claire's assets. Ethan looked panicked now. This is insane. No. Claire interrupted quietly. This is consequences. He stared at her. Actually stared. Like he was finally seeing the real woman sitting across from him. Not the quiet wife. Not the patient mother. Not the woman folding his laundry while secretly protecting his career. But someone infinitely more dangerous. Someone powerful. Someone he should have respected. Claire stood slowly. Her gray dress suddenly looked less simple. Less soft. More elegant. Controlled. Lethal. I loved you, Ethan. Her voice stayed calm. I loved you when you had nothing. I built your confidence. Your career. Your opportunities. I protected your ego because I wanted you to feel proud of yourself. She pointed toward Vanessa. And you traded your family for attention from a woman who wanted your paycheck. Vanessa burst into tears. Ethan looked destroyed. Claire stepped closer. And the worst part? She smiled faintly. You would have had everything if you had simply stayed loyal. Nathan slid another document toward the judge. Effective immediately, Whitmore Global is terminating all partnerships connected to Parker Design Group. Ethan's head snapped upward. No. That accounts for 83% of your company revenue, Nathan continued. Based on projections, bankruptcy should occur within 45 days. Ethan stood suddenly. You can't do this. Theodore adjusted his glasses. Actually, we can. Ethan finally broke. Miriam. Claire's eyes hardened instantly. My name is Claire. He swallowed hard. Claire, please. His voice cracked. Please. Think about Lily. Claire looked at him for a long moment. Then nodded once. I am thinking about Lily. That's why I'm making sure she grows up learning what betrayal costs. The judge reviewed the evidence for nearly 20 minutes. Then finally ruled. Full custody to Claire. Supervised visitation for Ethan once monthly. Full financial restitution. Immediate property removal order. protective restrictions involving Vanessa. Every word felt like another brick collapsing onto Ethan's chest. By the end, he looked barely conscious. Vanessa openly sobbed beside him. Richard Coleman looked ready to disappear. Claire gathered her belongings calmly. Then Lily's nanny appeared quietly near the courtroom entrance holding Lily's stuffed bunny. Claire's entire expression softened instantly. Nathan smiled gently. "She's waiting downstairs." Claire nodded. As she turned to leave, Ethan suddenly dropped to his knees. Actually dropped. In front of everyone. "Claire, please." His voice echoed through the silent courtroom. "I love you." Nathan scoffed quietly. But Claire stopped walking. She turned slowly. Ethan looked broken now. Not arrogant. Not smug. Just desperate. Too late. Claire walked toward him, until she stood directly in front of where he knelt. "You loved me," she said softly, "when you thought I was easy." Her eyes locked onto his. "But the second you believed I was powerless, you destroyed me without hesitation." Tears streamed down his face. Claire leaned slightly closer. "That tells me everything I ever needed to know about you." Then she straightened. "And Ethan?" He looked up desperately. "You had a billionaire who loved you for free." Silence. "You traded her for a woman pretending to be rich." Vanessa covered her face in humiliation. Claire turned and walked away. Security closed around her immediately. Downstairs, Lily ran into her arms the second she entered the lobby. "Mommy." Claire picked her up tightly. Lily smelled like strawberries and vanilla shampoo. The best smell in the world. "Uncle Nate bought me ice cream," Lily whispered proudly. Claire kissed her forehead. "Did he spoil you again?" "Yes." Nathan grinned unapologetically. Claire laughed softly for the first time in months. A real laugh. Behind them, Ethan's voice echoed faintly from upstairs while security restrained him from following. But Claire never looked back. 6 months later, Ethan Parker lost everything. His firm collapsed. His luxury car was repossessed. Vanessa left him less than a week after the hearing. Turns out she wasn't interested in struggling men after all. Richard Coleman was later suspended pending investigation into multiple ethics violations. As for Claire, she stopped hiding. Whitmore Global expanded internationally under her leadership. She launched a legal foundation helping women trapped in financially manipulative marriages. Thousands of women reached out with stories that sounded painfully familiar. And every night, Claire still came home in time to tuck Lily into bed herself. Because no amount of power mattered more than that. Sometimes people ask if she regrets hiding her identity from Ethan. She always gives the same answer. No. Because if she had told him from the beginning, she never would have learned who he truly was. And sometimes the most dangerous thing a woman can do is let people underestimate her.